Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to draw up a blueprint for understanding the very structure of our professional lives. We're going to dive into the systematic process that organizations use to define, organize, and even predict the future of work itself. So let's kick things off with a pretty bold statement from way back in 1994. The management consultant William Bridges came out and said that the very concept of a job, that neat little box we put our work in, was becoming obsolete, a relic that had just outlived its usefulness. And that creates this fascinating puzzle for us today, right? We see these massive changes in how we work all around us. Automation, AI reshaping entire tasks, hybrid schedules, and yet for all that change, the job has stubbornly refused to go away. So what's the deal? How do organizations square that prediction from the 90s with the reality we see every day? Here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll start with that paradox, the end of the job. Then we'll introduce a great metaphor, the plumber's wrench, to define what work analysis is. After that, we'll start deconstructing work's building blocks. Then we'll open up the analyst's toolkit. And finally, we'll look ahead at designing tomorrow's work. All right, Section 1, the end of the job, reconciling a modern paradox. We're going to start by digging into how companies even try to manage this idea of a stable job when the reality of work is so dynamic. Turns out the answer is a fundamental process they use to structure, well, everything. And that brings us to Section 2, the plumber's wrench, defining work analysis. That process is called work analysis, and it's really the solution to our puzzle. You can think of it as this invisible engine that designs and shapes the entire world of work, from the ground floor all the way up to the C-suite. So what is it exactly? Well, the formal definition says it's a systematic way to look at three key things. First, there's the content, what actually gets done, the tasks, the responsibilities. Second, the worker attributes, who's doing it, what skills, knowledge, and abilities do they need? And third, the context, where's it all happening? What are the conditions? This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Work analysis is the single most essential tool for pretty much everything related to managing people. Think about it. How do you rate an accurate job description? How do you set fair pay? How do you design training that actually works, or even defend your hiring decisions in court? The answer to all of those questions starts with a solid work analysis. It's the absolute foundation. So for Section 3, deconstructing work's building blocks, we're going to look at the language of work. To really see how that plumber's wrench works, you got to understand the materials. And work isn't just one big thing. It's a hierarchy, kind of built like a pyramid, from the smallest possible action all the way up to broad categories. It all starts with an element, which is the tiniest motion, like picking up a saw. You combine a few elements and you get a task, like cleaning utensils. A bunch of related tasks forms a duty, something bigger, like counseling employees. All the duties one person does, that's their position. And a group of similar positions, say all the mechanics in one shop, that's what we call a job. Okay, Section 4, the analyst's toolkit. So how is this blueprint for work actually built? Let's pop open the toolkit and look at how analysts get all this information, starting with the first big decision they have to make. And that first big choice is all about perspective. Are you going to take a work-oriented approach and focus on the activities themselves, the what that gets done? Or are you going to take a worker-oriented approach and focus on the person doing the work, the how it gets done, looking at stuff like their skills, their abilities, even their personality? Each viewpoint gives you a totally different but equally valuable picture. Now, once they've picked a perspective, analysts have a bunch of ways to get the data. Sometimes it's as simple as just direct observation, watching people do their jobs. Other times they'll do interviews or bring together panels of subject matter experts, or SMEs. The people who know the job inside and out. For big projects, they might send out detailed questionnaires, or they might use something called the critical incidents technique, where they collect stories of really great or really poor performance to figure out what truly makes someone successful. Let's zoom in on one of those observation methods for a sec. It's called functional job analysis, or FJA, and it's a really clever way to turn just watching someone work into structured, useful data by breaking down every single task into a simple, repeatable formula. The power here is just how simple and clear it is. Let's take this example of a firefighter. FJA forces the analyst to be super specific. The what is examines walls. Okay. The why, to locate secondary fires. Got it. The how, using a pike pole. See? This structure forces clarity. It turns a general observation into specific data points you can actually record and compare. Now, let's flip the script and look at a totally different tool. The Position Analysis Questionnaire, or PAQ, is a classic worker-oriented method. So instead of looking at specific tasks like firefighting, it uses a standardized list of 194 general human behaviors to describe any job. The whole idea is that you can't really compare the tasks of, say, a baker and a butcher, but you can compare the underlying human behaviors they both use. So here's how it works. An analyst takes a general behavior, like advising, and just rates how important it is for a specific job, let's say for a therapist versus a software engineer, on a simple scale. This creates a numerical profile for the job, which is amazing because it lets you quantitatively compare jobs that seem completely unrelated on the surface. It's a way to find the common ground between very different roles. All right, our final section, designing tomorrow's work. We're moving from descriptive to prescriptive. Because, describing the jobs we have now is useful, but the real power of work analysis today is in strategically planning for the future. And this is the crucial pivot, moving from a descriptive mindset to a prescriptive one. Descriptive analysis is all about what the job is right now. Strategic work analysis is about figuring out what the job needs to be. It's about using these same tools to define the skills and the roles for a job that might not even exist yet, but that will be critical for a company's future. Maybe the biggest and most incredible application of all these principles is the U.S. Department of Labor's ONET, the Occupational Information Network. It's this massive, free online database that provides a common, super detailed language for describing pretty much all work in the U.S. economy. The ONET model gives us 6 different windows to look through to understand any occupation. It doesn't just list skills and knowledge. It catalogs everything: the workers' required abilities and work styles, the typical training they need, and even labor market data for that role. When you look through all 6 windows, you get this incredibly rich picture of what a job is really all about, and it does this for over 900 occupations. So at the end of the day, the crucial point is this: work analysis is the essential bridge. It's the tool that connects a company's high-level strategy, where they want to go, to the people, the roles, and the skills they need on the ground to actually get there. It translates big ambitions into real work. And this brings us right back to where we started, to the future, into our own careers. This whole process, it's not static, it's always in motion. As technologies like AI keep redefining our professional lives, creating brand new roles and changing old ones, the tools of work analysis are exactly how organizations are going to map out, define, and hire for the jobs of tomorrow. And that leaves us all with a final thought: what will the blueprint of our future work look like?